Well, hello and good afternoon, everyone. It's Sunday. It's a brand new week. I am Dr. Donovan Washington, Youth Director of the South Atlantic Conference of Seventh Day Adventists, and I want to welcome you to our South Atlantic Conference Youth and Young Adult Camp Meeting Current Events Roundtable. We will be here every day for the rest of the week at noon from Sunday to Friday, talking about current events and youth and the church with our youth leaders, with young adults, and with young people across the conference and the nation. This Friday, we'll actually be joined by our conference president later on in the week. It's very important for us to talk to one another about how youth are relating in the world, about current events, and how youth are dealing with the church. We are in a transitional period in the Seventh Day Adventist Church. Things are changing really fast, and we need our young people to take an ownership stake in the Seventh Day Adventist Church to make it better. And so we're going to be talking about several of those things throughout the week. I'm humbly asking if you could take the time to share this video, share this broadcast on your social media. You can find us on YouTube and on Facebook. On Facebook, you can find us on the South Atlantic Conference page and on my personal page at Pastor Donovan. On YouTube, just put in the search window, South Atlantic Conference Youth Channel. You can find us there, or you can find us on our personal page, my personal page at Pastor Donovan. So welcome again, young people, young adults, friends of the youth department. We're here with our current events roundtable. Today, we have a very, very special guest. She has been involved in youth ministry for several years. She is the Federation president, the Federation youth president of the Youth Federation in North Carolina. She's been at that position for over 4 years and has done a wonderful job. She is also beloved by many people throughout the South Atlantic Conference, and she also just happens to be my daddy's baby sister. So she's my auntie. I'm inviting to the round table today a phenomenal youth leader, Peggy Roey. Peggy, say hey to everybody.
Hello, everyone. How you doing?
I'm happy to have Peggy here. Somebody is gasping right now, Peggy. Somebody is gasping right now because they didn't know you was my aunt. They had no idea. They're like, what? We can't believe it. But we are happy to have you aboard. And beyond my aunt, as a youth director, she serves as the Federation president for North Carolina and serving the young people. We also have another special guest. Most recently, he had served as the AY leader at the Great Abney Chapel Seventh Day Adventist Church. I see him jumping on now. He's been in youth ministry for a very, very long time, and the young people in North Carolina love him as well. We have a great young adult in my friend, the good elder Curtis Monroe. Curtis, welcome to the broadcast, man.
Good afternoon. How y'all doing today?
Man, it's good seeing you, my
Great.
brother.
You too.
It's a North Carolina revival. We're happy to have you here, and we're happy to have you. We have people logging in right now on Facebook. Here's what I need you to do on Facebook or YouTube. Feel free to talk to us. Let's comment on everything that you hear. Give us some feedback. If there's something you want us to cover, we'll definitely cover it today on the round table. We're thankful for the Davison family jumping in, and we say hello to everyone there. People logging in right now on Facebook. Here's what I need you to do on Facebook or YouTube. Feel free to talk to us. All right, let's turn that off, Peggy. Thank you. It's okay. And we're happy to have you here. Let's go ahead and get started with our round table today. Let's go ahead and we're thankful for the Davison family.
Sorry.
let's go ahead and cover some important topics for our young people here in South Atlantic Conference. The first thing we're going to talk about is the pandemic and politics. The pandemic hit our young people in a very, very specific way. Curtis, I'm going to begin with you. As a young adult man, talk about how the pandemic, social distancing, the guidelines, how that affected you, and how did you manage and deal with that?
Woo. So, social distancing. I'm a very sociable person. So, it was hard at first because, I teach in middle school. So, of course, middle schoolers, they want to come up and hug, high five, everything. And then also, staying at home, I'm not a stay-at-home person. No, I was never a stay-at-home person. So, I like to get up and go out, and then I get up and go out and nothing's open. I'm like, what happened in here? But the alone time allows you to think about certain things. Allows you time to reflect on your thoughts, time to just communicate with the Lord, and time to say, hey, what's been going on, pay a little bit more attention to the world. As far as making sure that it's able to be, just connecting, on social media and Zoom. We've done a lot more of that, especially with our youth department, done a lot more connecting on social media, but just trying to keep everyone engaged and connected has been a challenge because, not everyone has the technology available.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you for sharing that point. Peggy, you have young adults living with you. You serve as a youth leader in North Carolina. You have a lot of young people who lean on you. What did you observe how the pandemic affected young people and young adults where you're from?
The pandemic to me, it was really good because a lot of us older people are not too tech savvy. And so then we had to have a communication with these young people in order to do a lot of things that we needed. I know that Curtis set up a lot of Zoom meetings. We also had young people that our older generation within our church and other churches, I tried to touch bases with some young people and get them to go by and set up some technology for them so that they could actually stay abreast of what is going on. And that is with the church service, with everything. I saw someone had a question about how do you engage them. We really got to start to use our young people and the tools that we have for such a time as this. It's really good because, like I said, it's a way to bridge that gap of our young people as well as our older people coming together, working together to actually get the message out, get things across, and especially to help them with ministry. It's actually a ministry. It is a great ministry.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Let's go ahead and jump into this question. A classmate of mine from Oakwood University is joining us on the broadcast today, and he put a question out that says, how can we really still function in a virtual environment? Many have checked out and it's hard to get them engaged. If anyone understands that, it's definitely me. Even this week during our camp meeting, people are zoomed out. People are virtualed out. People want to go back outside. People want to gather. One of the most surprising things I've seen over the pandemic is that the people who want to go back to the church the most are young people. They miss the fellowship. They miss the camaraderie. They miss going to Pathfinders. I get 15 calls every day about the basketball league. For the record, we are doing a virtual camp meeting to keep young people safe. The pandemic isn't over it, over just because we're over it. We can't function like that. Many of our young people are not eligible to get vaccines yet. Okay. And so the worst thing that could happen is if I have a summer camp or we have a federation gathering, somebody gets sick, and then your mom and daddy mad at me. All right. So we still have to protect people. Even if you don't get sick, you could unwittingly carry the disease back to the senior citizens in your home, and they can get sick. So it's very difficult. We have to just keep pushing stuff out there. I'm providing content and trying to get stuff to stick to the wall just to put something out there, to do the best I can. I can't be all things to every young person, but at the same time, if I keep churning stuff out and giving them options and putting positive content out there, don't tell me young people don't consume online content. They'll look at YouTube all day. They'll look at TikTok all day. We got to make sure we jump into that space too with relative content, or relatable content. Peggy, as a youth leader, how can we be relevant in a virtual society? While we're still trying to get back in churches, can we still make an impact online?
We can still make an impact online, but we also must be conscious of the time. We can't do, if we have church service from 9:15, that's Sabbath school, including church, running till 1, we've already lost them with that long attention span. Our young folk, like you said, they're looking at TikTok, they're looking at Instagram, but if you look at those videos and the content is quick, it hits to the point, it gets the message out, and then it's done. And so even though sometimes we want to put so much in, we got to learn how to do short things that are going to hit them, impact, and then also get the message out. We can do, like you said, I laughed so hard when looking at your TikTok. There were so many kids that talked about your TikTok about camp with the little boy and with his message of run up on me. You know, you got to understand that a lot of them looked at that because what did you do? Your message was quick, the message was there, and it got their attention. And they're still talking about that. So we have to be mindful of the time of what we're doing, how we're doing it, and we got to make sure that we're doing what attracts their attention.
Curtis, go ahead and add on to that.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things that, the ideas that we're having, for planning out for our next youth day, we're going to try to get our youth to do TikTok videos, and of course, they can make them and they can do the dances better than I ever could. But, there's the TikTok videos about how they, what they miss about church, about us being together. I know some churches have, reopened, with, of course, social distancing guidelines, but just finding that creative spark, allowing them to lead that creative spark out will, get them, they'll draw more young people in than us older people.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think young people have the potential to be the best evangelists. When you spread things by word of mouth, it's like wildfire. And as older individuals, you can no longer afford not to be on social media.
Right.
Okay. If you have young kids in your house, you need to monitor what they're doing, number one. But also, if you're trying to minister to young people aren't going to call you. They're not going to send you an email. Okay. My primary interactions with young people in the South Atlantic Conference is through Instagram. It's through TikTok. Now, all the old folk are on Facebook. That's where all the old folk are at. But on YouTube, Snapchat isn't what it used to be, but there are ways to stay in touch with them, and you most definitely have to be relevant. Angela Sanders says we should create rooms where they can socialize, play Switch together, and socialize with other Christians. One of the biggest things I saw during the pandemic, geography doesn't matter anymore. Okay, your youth group can have a youth program with a youth group in New York or a youth group in California, and all you gotta do is push a button. I have been to Trinidad and Tobago 2 times during the pandemic by the power of Zoom. And so you can come up with creative ways to connect young people, but I think it's very important that we find something to stay connected with them. Portia Mills Davidson says, at first, the pandemic was a blessing in one sense because you could connect to young people on virtual platforms, far and wide, who you normally wouldn't. Now the youth are beginning to enjoy outdoor activity. I agree. But whatever you do, I'm encouraging everyone to be safe.
Mm-hmm.
To be safe. Still social distance. If you are not vaccinated, please wear a mask. Don't if you're having a youth event at your church, I would not encourage you to bring food with people just licking their fingers and touching each other and stuff like that. Still be safe. This disease still kills people. Okay? And we have to be very, very careful and protect ourselves as we move forward. We welcome your comments. We thank you for such lively conversation so far. We're asking you to share this on social media and share this with your young people. But let's keep our current events roundtable going forward with another topic. And I'm putting this on the screen now. The church is not your enemy. One of the things I've noticed in my time as youth director is that there's a lot of bitterness towards the church. Now, there is legitimate church hurt out there, okay? There are a lot of young people that have been talked about, that have been lied on, that have been judged, that have been abused, and nothing hurts like church hurt, okay? Nothing hurts like church hurt. That thing will send you in a tailspin for the rest of your life. You have young people who vowed never to set foot in the church because somebody talked about their outfit or their hairstyle, or somebody found out about a mistake they made and hurt their feelings. Church hurt is legitimate. But I see the enemy creating something even deeper, where we'll give grace to the bad boyfriend. We'll give grace to the street person or the drug dealer. We'll give grace to somebody who abuses us in the world and get over it. We'll give grace to a friend that did you wrong, but we'll hate the church forever. The church is the enemy forever. The church is seen as something that is negative instead of positive. Now, I grew up in the church. Church helped my family pay bills before. I got married in a church, got counseling in the church, found my calling in the church. Sometimes we forget about all the great things the church does and throws the baby out with the bathwater. Are you all seeing, as young adult leaders, and y'all talk to me in the comments too, are young people and young adults seeing the church as their enemy? And tell me the legitimacy of that. Curtis, talk to us.
Well, there's an expectation when you're at church, and when you from my church folk, from my Christian friends, y'all not supposed to hurt me. Like, there's that expectation there that as a church, we love you, we love everybody, we love our community, and then if the church turns around and hurts me, that stings in your heart. And so I think the reason, as you were alluding to earlier, we'll forgive everybody else, but the church is still the enemy, probably because there's a greater expectation. And then maybe after the hurt, maybe the church doesn't do a good job of reaching back out to that person and seeing if they're right. Maybe nobody actually reaches out to them. And I think we need more people in the church, more of our older people and, young adults as well, to say, hey, to look, and it doesn't have to be a public thing, but, just to say, hey, we still love you, as that representative of the church. You can't just say, okay, well, forgive the church, because one, the church is made up of people, we're human, but at the same time, I think the young adults in the church who might not see anymore have an expectation, or had an expectation that says, hey, my church family is first and foremost supposed to take care of me and look out for me, but now I'm getting all this hurt from them. It's sending two different mixed messages. So I think as the church, we have to do a better job of making sure that if one of us is hurting, that we take care of that one of us.
Yeah, yeah. That's an
Like,
excellent point.
I'm sorry.
Excellent point, Curtis, when you said that the church is not supposed to hurt you. But let's be clear about something. Even though the church is not supposed to hurt you, the church has flawed people in it.
Yeah.
Okay? And like if there are people in my family that have the potential to hurt me, but what makes you family is that you fix it. You know, so I think so often the hurt takes place and we don't fix it. We don't fix it. Peggy, what do you have to say about the church is not your enemy? Why do so many young people see the church as enemy?
Just to be honest, a lot of times they're looking for that because they want a reason not to go. So as soon and with our young adults as well, and with our older generation too, a lot of them want a reason to be able to leave. And so as soon as someone says something that offends them, they turn away or they walk away or they get upset. And like you said, the church is really a place of people. We all have issues. We all have to. I know a young lady at our church, I'll use for example, she had gotten hurt. And during divine worship, I asked our members, can you please do me a favor? If you don't have a relationship with these children, please don't talk to them. Do not criticize them. That's another issue and thing that we got to get together. I must first build a relationship with you in order for me to speak to you the way that I may need to, or that it's going to help and build up and not tear down. I should be able to say to Curtis, you know, what I saw you do, it may not have been the best judgment, but it's all in my wording and my delivery. So if my delivery, as I'm coming to you, Curtis, da 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 da, and I'm going off, and I see my daughter. She said, I believe we need to teach our young people and old people that people in the church are the same as those outside the church. It's a hospital for the sick. Communication is the lack, not so much the hurt. Too many times things are swept under the rug. Having a support team or accountability to hash out the issue or hurt will be a start to the healing in the church. Yeah. We got to teach each one of us to run this race with blinders on like the horses. You got to stay focused. You got to stay on point. Does not matter what I've seen Pastor Washington do or what he said. Does not matter what I've seen Curtis do or what Curtis has said. I got to keep my eyes on Christ. We got to plant the seed. And it may be 5 or 10 years later when the Holy Spirit waters that seed. But we got to plant the seed.
Wow. I thank Danita Roy for that point. Danita, you're always welcome to be a guest on our roundtable discussion. But I do agree with you. Having a support team or accountability to hash out an issue or hurt will be the start of healing in the church.
Mm-hmm.
There is legitimate church hurt, but who's chasing these folk? And
right.
listen, it's a two-way street. If someone comes for you, you got to be open to that reconciliation too.
Right.
Okay. You can't just shut the door. You took that sorry boyfriend back. Yes, you did. Okay. Yes, you did. You took that sorry girlfriend back.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you took them back. Yes, you did. You took that sorry friend who stole $20 out of your wallet back. Okay. Why not give the Church of the Living God another chance? Okay. Nobody's saying the church is perfect, but it's one of the best things we have going on this earth. You still can get baptized at church. You still can sing in the choir and get married at church. You still can get support and hear a good word and be encouraged. I went to a funeral the other day in the church, and the young brother, and some of y'all know Kelvin Moore from Augusta. He sang, I Shall Wear a Crown. Brought me to tears. I was happy to be in church. Brought me to tears just to hear that song. So we have to make sure that we keep in mind. Danita makes another good point. She says resiliency should be taught and built in our youth groups. Now, that's something that's missing now. We quit easily. We quit easily on marriages. We quit easily on jobs. One of the things about millennials and Generation Y and Generation Z, they'll quit your job in a minute. They not built like the baby boomers. The baby boomers say, I'm going to work for you forever. You treat me like a dog, I'm going to work forever. I'm going to get a medal. I've been here 40, 50 years. It could be the first week for a young adult or a young person. They said, nah, I'll pass. Even in our churches, they'll take AY leader and they're excited. And the first sign of criticism, they're out of it. I'm done. We have to teach resiliency, okay? We have forgotten that we have an enemy. The devil is not going to give you a round of applause for doing good things.
Right.
He's not. He's trying to make it difficult. Watch this. If you're really comfortable and finding no opposition in your sinful lifestyle, but finding opposition in the church, it's obvious the devil don't want you in the church. That's where he don't want you. So he's going to make it difficult. And Danita makes an excellent point about resiliency. Elder Gary Troxler from Greensboro, North Carolina says the church and church folk are not infallible, filled with sin, wrongdoing, and ill intent. Only the gospel and love of God is. The church and church folk must make youth, young adults a priority. When you value something or you prioritize them, you listen and learn from them. Excellent point. Excellent point, Elder. But none of us are perfect.
Right.
But we got to give each other grace. Yeah. And young people, we got to be more patient with imperfect people. We have to. Jesus knew Judas was going to betray him for 3 years and still loved on him.
That's right.
I mean, think about that. Don't let, and you know, some people say, well, I can just go to church from home. I can just watch online. I can just read my Bible and pray. Why I need church people? The two greatest commandments is love God and then love others. Okay? You can't make it to glory if you can't deal with people. You can't. You have to find a way to deal with people, and church is a good training ground. Come on now, to deal with people. Okay, heaven gonna be full of people. Well, you said, well, they're gonna be perfect then. Well, look, you gotta work with them now and give each other grace. You're not perfect,
right?
You make mistakes. You run your mouth. You talk junk, and so we have to treat people. All right. Sherelle Bailey Troxler jumps in from Greensboro as well. Resiliency as young people is typically taught by watching how the adults in their life resolve and handle conflict. Peggy, comment on that.
Merciful Father. Why you? That is true. I'll give a perfect example. We talk about how our young people don't support the church financially. And I said, well, when did you start teaching them how to? We have something that we're doing here called the tribes. And so a lot of them were a little skeptical when I said, if they're 5 years old, they can put their money in. You let them put their money on their little envelope, put their name on the envelope, and let them turn their money in during offering. Guess what that does? It starts them on the path to understand I can first give to the church, and then it also helps them understand it makes a difference in my giving. If you start them that way and continue to do it from a little age, a young age, up until they are young adults, guess what happens? They support the church. If they're doing stuff at the church, they're going to do that. We were laughing at my oldest grandson now, who started when he was little, along with Shirlene Coley's little boys, picking up and doing stuff for us with the homeless and with food giving away. Guess what? As these boys are getting older, they're still doing it. But they're doing it because we started them out young and we've stayed with them doing it. Sherelle is right, 100%. If you're going to start them out, you can't wait until they get in that teenage age and then say you want to come in and you want to teach them and you want to start them. We got to start when they're little.
What say you, Curtis?
I say that's exactly right. Like, people as a young adult, people do ask me, why do I still go to church? Other young adults ask, why are you still in the church? And one of the reasons I give them is because, when I was younger, I wasn't only taking the church, I was involved in the church.
Mm-hmm.
We was in Pathfinders. I sang in the children's choir, solo skills. And definitely it meant a lot to me, to feel a part of that family, not just to sit in the seat, but to actually do things. I became an AY leader because my mom pushed me to do it. But I was a little shot back then. But that taught me and helped me grow. So I think definitely, as you were saying before, the church is the place to help you learn skills for life on how to deal with people.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody, like you said, nobody goes to work and quit. Well, I mean, the people I know don't go to work and quit.
Right.
And we should not come to church expecting that everything's going to be beautiful flowers and rainbows and everything like that. The Lord's still working on every single person at church.
Right. And that's not the Bible experience either. The Bible does not show a series of stories where everybody's just getting along all the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's just not realistic. At Walmart, they only open 2 lines for you, but you go every week. Okay? Every week. You go to McDonald's every week and the ice cream machine stay broke. Okay? And you go every week. And the first time somebody look at you wrong at church, you ready to walk out. We got to talk about that a little further on. Now, Gary says, Peggy Roey, your point about discipline in relationship is 1,000% correct. You must first have a relationship with young folk in order to correct or discipline them. Agreed. Even the Bible makes it clear, paraphrasing, whom the Lord loves, he chastens for them. Love is the principal factor. When you love on somebody, it's very easy. They'll take your advice. They'll take your advice. Peggy's brothers stepped in the gap when my father wasn't around. And they would take me upstairs in Hampton Homes in their room, and they would give me some of the harshest, politically incorrect truth you'll find on this earth. They sit me in the room and say, this is what you're not going to do. You're not going to be this way. You're not going to be that way. You're not going to be this way. And the reason why I was close to them, because I know it was coming out of love.
Mm-hmm.
They were saying it because they love me. If you convince a young person you care, they'll listen to whatever you say. They'll run through a wall for you.
You're right.
They'll run through a wall for you. Go ahead, talk about it, Peggy. Go ahead.
That's true. Someone said to me one time that I'm a little harsh as I'm talking to them. And, I may be a little harsh, but guess what? They know if they need a meal, if they need a Band-Aid, if they need anything, they know they can come to me for that as well. So, yes, it is a point. And like I say to them always, I tell them, when I'm talking to you or when I'm saying something to you or disciplining you, I'm looking at you as my child. I may not have had you, but you are still mine. And I look at them like that because that is the love I have for them. Curtis is a grown man, and I stay on him all the time.
Grown.
That's right, grown.
With a capital G.
But
like, honestly, like, with the grown man comment, she's always been there for me. I know that if it's coming from her, it's coming from love. I know that. It might not have been some stuff I wanted to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But it's coming from love, and I know she's gonna be there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, let's pivot. And this is a hot topic. But that's what the South Atlantic Conference Youth and Young Adult camp meeting, roundtable, and current events discussion is for. Okay. Do we scapegoat the church? Is the church the problem for all young people? Is it the church fault? So often with youth and young adults, they trace their issues in life to the church.
Mm.
And when you hear them talking about the church, it's as if the church didn't exist, they'd be better off. They say all my problems because this would happen to me at church. And the church is blamed and scapegoated for everything. Do young people have a responsibility to be accountable for things in their lives as well? Did the church run you off, or do you like beer? Did the church run you off, or did you want to sleep around? Help us, panelists, understand, is the church blamed too much? Come on, people who are watching this, go on and comment. I want to read your comments on this, because the church has a bad rap. Bad rap. We love Jay-Z and Beyonce, but we hate the church. You know, we love the things of the world, but we hate the church. Is the church blamed too much? Curtis, talk to us, and people, give me some comments on this. They say all my problems because. Hold on, everybody who's watching this program and who may watch it later, Peggy Roey, for some reason, keeps trying to replay and watch this thing live on her phone too. And I'm here trying to have a professional program. I'm here trying to give you quality programming, and my own aunt is messing this up every time. Okay, every time.
Oh, goodness.
Peggy, put your phone away. You can watch it later. Okay. So if you're watching this, it's not me, y'all. It's not me.
And someone was texting me about the broadcast, so I was trying to get them in. I'm sorry.
Okay, it's not me. It's not me. All right. Curtis, is the church blamed too much?
I think the church is blamed too much. I mean, you have to have a sense of responsibility that if I'm going to go to church, then I'm not just going to go to get something out. I want to put something back in. You know, we don't have responsibility for the things that happen in our lives. Most of the decisions are our fault. You know, whether you choose to go into the consequences, blindly into the consequences, or with your eyes open to the consequences, you know, it's our responsibility. But at the same time, you're going to, whatever fruits you receive from that is just a decision that we made. You know, like you said, if we want to do this and this goes against the church, then yes, we'll go ahead and do it. But then the consequences come around and say, oh, the church, you know, they didn't take me back and they didn't do this and they didn't do that. Well, who made the decision? Whose responsibility was that? You know, I've been seventh graders, and as my seventh graders, if they don't do their work, you know, of course, there's a 0 that goes in the grade book. You know, some people find that harsh. I don't care. Because at the end of the day, the conversation is, did you do that assignment? Did you turn it in? So looking at the church, I think that we, you know, the church is scapegoated a little bit too much. We have to say, hey, did I do what I was supposed to do? And if I had something wrong with somebody in church, did I do what the Bible said? The Bible says if you have fault with your brother, go to that person. And it gives you instructions on what happens if they don't listen. So did we follow our responsibility as Christians? Are we looking at it from the standpoint of, did I do what Jesus told me to do, or did I just drop the ball on that one?
Jessica is the youth leader at the Philadelphia French Seventh-day Adventist Church, and she says, I agree, here in Atlanta, the Atlanta area, I agree, some people do not want to be held accountable for their actions. Peggy, let me get you to answer this question. Is the church blamed too much?
The church, I think the church is blamed too much. It should be the individual. But the problem is that we represent the church. And so they don't say, well, you know, Curtis hurt me. They say the church hurt me. And man, that's a, take some of the responses offline. That's rough.
So that's all you got to offer on that?
Yeah, I was trying to read some of the responses. Some of them were good. They were good.
So you're kind of torn on this.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay, why?
Because, like I said, they don't look at the individual. It's more they're looking at the church as a whole. When the church didn't hurt you,
Right.
it was an individual that hurt you. And as Curtis said, and a lot of times they don't want to go. Everybody's not approachable. And so even though, Matthew tells us to go to that person and talk to them, and it gives us a guideline. If they don't listen to you, take a witness. If that doesn't work, go to this step. But a lot of times all of us are not able to do that. We're not able to express what someone said to them, or how they said it, or how they did it. And like I said, too many times it's blamed on the church body, when it wasn't the church body.
It was one or two people.
It was, yes, sir.
Okay.
And you know that resiliency comment that Danita had made, if the resiliency is built in within that will be taught. Okay, it can teach people how to verbalize that. And it also helps, again, when the comment was made about the support system, if they can't verbalize that, they know where to go to help them verbalize that.
We just don't do this in other institutions. If a teacher is bad to us, you don't see a lot of people say, "I'm done with education."
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If somebody at the bank runs you into the ground, you don't hear, "I'm done with the financial system." You don't see that. But people they throw the whole system out when it comes to church. I mean, they throw the whole system out. Now let's deal with some real talk. Part of it is some people were looking for a reason to go.
Mm-hmm.
The Holy Spirit can hit upside your head when you're in church. You know what I mean? I remember when I was in college, me and my girlfriend were sitting in church, and we were all hugged up next to each other. I hope my wife ain't listening to this, but we were all hooked up in the Oakwood University Church, and Pastor John Nixon Sr. preached a sermon called Sexual Healing, talking about being more pure in dealing with the opposite sex. By the time that sermon was over, we were at the other ends of the pew. We weren't close to each other at all anymore. And listen, young people have kind of got it wrong, where church is just praise and worship. That's why the band and the praise and worship leaders leave when the sermon comes. It's not just praise and worship. It's where we encounter God. And God's encounters are not always warm and fuzzy.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes he challenges us. And some people don't want that heat. They don't want that smoke, man. They don't want to feel like I'm being challenged to be better. The pastor must know my business. He talking about me. No, that's the Holy Spirit coming right to your door, challenging you to go to another level. Portia Mills Davidson says, one of the enemy's oldest trick, Adam and Eve, look for something else to blame for your own actions. Adam said, "It was the woman you gave me."
Mm-hmm.
That's what Adam said. He said it was the woman. Eve said it was the serpent. And nobody really took responsibility for it. I think the church can do a better job in being sensitive and kind and caring and welcoming to young people, but we can't be looking for a reason to run either. You know what I mean? We cannot be more loyal to hip hop than God. We can't. We were brought up in this thing. God's been too good to us for no matter what age we are to run away from the Lord. Well, folks, we're coming to an end of our discussion, and we're going to cover one last topic today, a real brief topic. I hope you have enjoyed our roundtable discussion. We'll be here every day with different people. Okay, different people every day. Next broadcast will be real professional because Peggy will be on it. Okay, but we're gonna now listen. I'm joking. I love my aunt. My aunt is the best of the best. But we will be on with different people every day, and we want you to spread the word, join, interact with us. As you can see, we read your comments live online. If you're putting comments in and you want to be a part of the roundtable, here's what you do. Send me an email or hit me up on social media, and I would love to put you in our roundtable, okay? I would love to put you a part of it. So just hit me an email. Say, Pastor, I want to be involved. You see that, Danita Roy? Pastor, I want to be involved, and I want to be a part of the program, okay? And I will definitely get you on this week, and we'll have a good time in the Lord. The last topic of the day is, as a church, when it comes to ministering to young people, I'm asking the panelists, give me one specific thing that we can do better that can turn the tide in our relationship with young people in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. I want you to think about one thing that you think we can do better, and I'll wrap it up. In the comments, I'd love to get feedback from people watching this to tell us what's one thing the church can do better. I'm going to keep that and implement it into my ministry here in the South Atlantic Conference. So what's one thing that we can do better? Let's begin with you, Curtis.
The one thing that I personally believe, start with the relationship. If the relationship is not there, start with that. As you know, everyone watching this broadcast, if you see somebody who's not there, then it's your responsibility to reach out to that person. You know, I'm pretty sure every one of us can automatically think of somebody who we just don't see at church anymore. You know, we can reach out to them, but also as young people, young adults, you know, as a church, allow them to, or allow us, because I'm still young, I guess, allow them to be open and honest with the church without, you know, I'm not saying that, you know, being just, you know, of course, the Holy Spirit will do that part, but make the church a safer place to where they can share, and you'll get some ideas from them that the church could never come up with on their own. Well, rather not the church, but, you know, in other individuals. There are things that people gave, not people gave, there are things that God gives individuals, you know, ideas that he gave y'all that he might not have given me, ideas that he gives other people that, again, if as a church family, we could come together, reach out to everybody, and make sure everyone just has a safe place to express themselves and be a part of the church. That is one place to start.
Peggy, what's one thing the church can do better? Thank you, Curtis. That was excellent.
One thing the church can do better is training. We really and truly, as the older, need to train our young people, and then sit back and actually allow them to take over. We talk about all the time that they're our future, but yet and still, we don't want to train them and move out the way. I saw Pastor Preston when he was at another church, Calvin, and what he did, he had a youth and young adult board. They filled every position that the older board has, and then they dealt with the young youth and young adult issues within the church. If there was a problem with someone that was youth or young adult, then what they would do, they would then turn around, and the older board, senior board, couldn't handle it. The youth and young adult board had to handle it. But in order for them to do this, they got to be trained.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Let me read a few of these comments. Always be sure the young people you want to reach are in the room, are part of the conversation, and how to reach other young people. Excellent advice. Vulnerability at admitting you are imperfect and not being too big to apologize. This is huge to young people. I do this with my daughters. Yes, I'm the daddy, I'm the boss, but when I mess up, I pull them together and I say, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. I can do better. And you can see the sense of power coming over them. They get Super Saiyan. They just say, you know, because they see somebody who's in authority apologizing, you know, and it makes a big difference to them that I'm not too big to apologize. Transparency, be real, be real, be real. What we can do better is do what our AY leader, Simone Smith, make personal connections to youth and young adults for encouragement, for right living, for motivation. to continue to fight an invitation to church events, that personal touch and that personal connection. I'm going to end our program by saying,
before you end,
right.
Can I make one comment?
Is it on this?
Yes, it is.
Yes, go right ahead.
I would love for our youth and young adult parents to make sure that their children are involved. That's another issue. We should not have to chase down your children to be involved. You know, I mean, we have programs, there are things that are going on, and yet and still, and we're going to be honest and upfront, you don't bring your child until they get in trouble out there in the world, and then you want to bring them and you want to say, hey, can you talk to them? Can you build a connection? I need them in the beginning. We got to go back. Some things we got to go back to old school. Yeah. And you have to bring your children to be involved in church events.
Church is not reform school.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're not dropping your kids off and Major Payne gonna come out and train them and drill them and this and that. No, it's not reform school. You know, Peggy and Curtis, I hear so many people saying the youth are leaving the church. If they're under 18, how is that possible without their parent or guardian?
Thank you.
Please help me understand that. There can't be this door out the church for people who are under 18 unless it's by consent of the parent or the guardian. Peggy, you remember this more than I do. I did not have a choice whether or not I went to church when I was under Laura Roy's roof. I didn't, even when I lived with my mother, y'all would come pick me up. And then I definitely didn't get a choice on where I sat. Okay? I did not get a choice on whether or not I went up to altar prayer or not. She would grab me by the hand and take me up to altar prayer and pray over I still remember the prayers that woman prayed over my life. Folks, we have to end this idea that people under 18 there's this mass exodus. No, families are leaving. Families are leaving. And we got to pray to strengthen families and bring them back. I guess I'm going to end with the one thing I think we can do better is give them Jesus. We've had enough gimmicks. We have enough people trying to water down what faith is. But the Holy Spirit still can draw young people if you give them Jesus. I am not the type of youth leader that tries to talk and act and dress like the young people I serve. I don't think that's what draws them. I would rather them respect me than for me to be their buddy. I really do. But the biggest thing I want them to know is that there's a man that when I was your age that changed my life, that negated and canceled every curse that was against me, that brought me up, and his name was Jesus Christ. And the same man that did it for me can do it for you. Give him Jesus. Give him Jesus. I don't water it down. Don't sugarcoat it, because God loves them more than you can know. Give them Jesus. I have thoroughly enjoyed our first current events roundtable for the youth and young adults of South Atlantic Conference. I have enjoyed the company of my friend, Curtis. Thank you for jumping in, man. I really appreciate it. And y'all need to know Peggy was instrumental in saving my life. Peggy loved me and looked out for me. Peggy not old enough to be my mama, but she's like a big sister to me as my auntie. And she loved me, a young boy who needed somebody to love him. My auntie looked out for me, and I'll never forget that. Never forget that. So I'm glad you came on, Auntie. I appreciate it. Thank you for your words of wisdom. And thank you, young people of South Atlantic. It is my joy to serve you. I came up in youth ministry just like you. So to be able to serve you is a joy in my life. Let me let you know what else is happening. This is not done. Tonight at 6 o'clock, we have Pastor Edward Simmons of the Berean Seventh-day Adventist Church. He's the associate pastor there. And he's going to take us to the river. Go ahead and spread the word. 6 o'clock on these same platforms. Bring your young people. Bring them. Gather your young people around a device and get you some word tonight. And then we'll be right back here tomorrow at 12. I have two pastors from Florida, Pastor Leonard Newton, Pastor Eric Ampadu, to talk more about current events and young people in the church. Thank you so much for joining us today, South Atlantic, people all over the country and the world. And if you're watching this replay, make sure you share it with someone else. Never, ever, ever forget, if God be for us, who can be against us? God bless you all and take care. Thank you, Peggy. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.